Well, I was actually down the block, and I thought that this person had Halloween decorations on their house, and they were like green and red. It was Christmas decorations
God
early.
damn it. So early.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Could you? Why would you put Christmas decorations before Halloween decorations? It's so weird. How
Yeah.
about you? Did you hang anything yet for Halloween?
Yeah, yeah, I hung up a couple of skeletons outside my kitchen window. One of them. Welcome to Two on the Vine. This is KY.
And this is Vinny.
And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about spooky stories, stuff that was submitted by the viewers, stuff that's unsettling, mostly true. There were a couple of really shitty creepy pastas, so I took those out. I curated just a little bit, but we have a lot to go through. Do you want to just jump into them, or is there anything you want to talk about first?
Well, there's actually a few things I wanted to mention. First of all, Happy Halloween,
Happy
everyone.
Halloween! Yeah,
And this is a great holiday because it's just fun to watch dumb horror movies and uh, talk about dumb stuff that may or may not be related to skeletons.
yeah. I'm
Um,
gonna be seeing Ash versus Evil Dead screening with Bruce Campbell in attendance on Halloween, so I'm super pumped for that.
that's pretty awesome. What on a scale from 1 to 10, what stoke level are you? Like how stoke?
9, I would say. I thought about going overkill with like the 12 or 13, but I mean, let's
Yeah,
face it, Bruce Campbell's just a little washed up these days, you know? Like,
yeah.
did you see like My Name is Bruce, that movie?
No, I saw the man with the screaming brain, and I could only make it through half of it.
Yeah, and I don't know, the previews for Ash versus Evil Dead, I don't know. Like, I'm hopeful, but I don't know. So I'd say a 9. I'm really excited. I mean, I grew up watching Bruce Campbell stuff, and I've always enjoyed it. Even at his worst, like it's still just like, oh come on, it's Bruce Campbell though. So
Yeah,
I'm excited to meet him. Maybe have him sign a thing. Who knows?
I think it's gonna be a great time. That's a perfect Halloween activity. So you're gonna have a great time regardless. Just the fact that it's cool stuff happening on Halloween like that. Um, I would say, the only thing I would want to do Halloween, like I
Hmm.
used to do,
Yeah,
is just hang out with friends and watch scary movies. So you're pretty much doing exactly that. So that's really good.
yeah.
I watched Nightmare on Elm Street with the Red Letter Media commentary recently, and it was hilarious. And there's the Johnny Depp blood volcano scene that I was just I couldn't believe that when I was a kid. I was so scared by that I couldn't go to sleep. So, have
You
you ever
said
seen the Nightmare on Elm Street movies or no?
Yeah, well, I've seen a couple of them. I barely remember any of them though. Like, ironically, the one that I remember the most is Jason versus Freddy, which doesn't really count. It was okay actually. I thought it was all right, but not it's not a Nightmare on Elm Street movie,
Yeah, it's like it knows what it is, that kind of
right?
thing.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, cool. So, I mean, we could talk more about movies later, but why don't let's jump into the scary stories because we used to do this thing on Vine Sauce years ago called Campfire, and I used
hmm
to talk to people. And in the same way that you got some really shitty copy pastas and creepy pastas and people just making shit up, I used to get that live.
yeah.
So,
I
yeah.
tried to cull the batch a bit, like maybe down by half or so. That left about 30 stories, like some of them short, some of them long. So this might be a two-parter. Maybe we'll get through like 10, 15 today, and then maybe shortly after Halloween we'll do a second episode doing the rest, or I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
So you ready to start?
Yeah. Let's
So
do it.
yeah, so I'll just read the story and we'll discuss it. This one is from Eric with a K. He writes in, Aloha, Vinny and KY. I have a story for you guys. It's not really related to video games, but I spent a bit of writing, so I'll send it anyway. When I moved to Kauai about 5 years ago, I had what I believed to be an encounter with a ghost. When I first started living here, I would always wake up in the middle of the night sometimes, with the room feeling kind of chilly. It wasn't really the entire room, though. It was usually by the foot of the bed, by an open window. Seems pretty normal to me, or at least I thought it did. One night I woke up and I felt this strange presence, like something or someone was watching me. I turn over and I see a short, stocky, balding local guy with glasses standing in front of the doorway, which is by the corner of our bed. I've never seen this guy before, mind you, but his appearance stuck in my head for a little while. I quickly turned away until I felt like I was okay to go back to sleep. The next morning, I spoke to my girlfriend's father about the previous owner of the house, asked him what he looked like, asked him if he was still alive, etc. Turns out the previous owner of the house died about a year or two after they moved into the house back in 1996. He fit my description, too. Apparently, the bedroom my girlfriend and I sleep in was once his office. It explained a lot of things, too. The cold chills, our dog sitting at the foot of the bed growling at the hallway. Maybe he was just trying to get back his job. About a week later, we spoke to a kahu, which, side note, is a priest in Hawaiian, and had him bless the house. And of course, when he was wrapping up the whole process, our dog started getting fidgety and started growling. Fun stuff. Since then, I haven't had any other experiences like that. Not in our house, anyway.
It's weird.
Yeah. Little Hawaiian Danny DeVito ghosts.
Yeah. So the first thing is when you said he's from Kauai, immediately my mind went to that's definitely some like nickname for a city in Japan. And then I realized, oh wait, no, Hawaii, got it.
Yeah, I probably said it wrong. It's probably Kauai. Kauai.
Kauai.
Kauai.
I have no idea. It's an interesting story. I mean, the animal angle, like the dog kind of barking or picking up on the spirit. That's something you hear a lot in the scary stories. Like the cat freaked out, jumped through a window. Like the dog barked a lot and kind of was just staring at one particular area of the room.
Yeah.
So it's weird. It's interesting. I wouldn't like a Danny DeVito ghost in my house, would you?
No, absolutely not. That's like the worst kind of ghost, let's face it, because that ghost...
Oh, it's a botch job!
That Danny DeVito ghost could be a sign that DeVito himself had passed away. So that's half the horror. That would be terrible.
Oh my God. Why would he haunt one specific kid, though? Like, maybe that kid's a really big Always Sunny fan?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or maybe he's just, a really big Penguin fan.
Penguin, sure. Yeah, maybe Taxi.
Maybe. Or, no, Taxi. That was the one I was thinking.
Yeah. I mean, not to take the piss out of the story, because just a disclaimer for anyone listening that's never really, listened to my thoughts on this. And I'll get your thoughts on it too, Adam. But here's the thing. I do believe in the paranormal, and I have some experiences that I can't explain. And I know my friends do too. I've read a lot about the subject. However, just because I'm open-minded doesn't mean I believe every story.
Right.
And I also am pretty aware that some people make stuff up or there's psychological reasons. That said, I do believe in some weird stuff that's happened, to people. And there are some stories that I cannot explain. So you feel the same way generally?
Generally. I would call myself a skeptic. I imagine, similarly to how you would call yourself a skeptic. I don't really believe in ghosts, but I definitely believe that there are circumstances or events that we just can't explain. I don't know, that probably have a reason behind them, but that definitely happened a certain way, not just hallucination or something like that, that something definitely physically happened that we just can't currently explain.
Sure.
And, and that's why people usually jump to things like ghosts, because it's easy to write off an unexplainable occurrence as something supernatural.
Before the discovery of certain physical or physics formulas, that stuff didn't exist to people. It was just unexplainable. Or the way people used to take care of diseases was through leeches and stuff. For all intents and purposes, diseases and viruses were demons to a lot of the earlier, in the Middle Ages, for example. So, I mean, we're still a young species, and, there's always a chance that there's more we don't know about our universe and more about our world that we don't know. And maybe it does involve some really bizarre physical, like you said, phenomena that we just can't see we can't perceive with our senses.
Right.
So maybe that's what ghosts are. Who knows?
Maybe. Do you want to read the next one? I can just paste it to you.
Please, yes.
There you go. Let me know if you'd rather I just paste the text. I just took a screenshot because that's easiest.
That works great for me.
Okay.
But yeah, if any of these stories end with, by the way, my name is Vinny and I am stupid,
And
then
I
I'll
am
know.
the moon star.
Yeah, then I'll know it's you fucking with me. All right, from Brian. This one says here, put yourself in my position and you'll see the spooks crawl out of you faster than you could have ever thought to spook. I hope you know what night terrors are and sleep paralysis. Yes, I do know what those are.
Me too.
At the time, I was going through some tough times with my mother and my father because he was in prison and my mom already found another man. She wasn't mean to me. She was highly religious and loved me with all her heart. One night, I was trying to get some sleep after school, but I kept waking up and going back to sleep. I did this for at least 4 hours, and eventually it got to the point where I couldn't move and my mom had turned off the light and shut the door. I never counted it was a night terror, nor had I ever heard of what a night terror is, but in this time, I could only lift my hand up high enough to reach the light. But something was bothering me. There was something in the door, and it was definitely not my mom. It was tall, furry, and slender. And it was all black, but you could still feel it watching you, even with no lights to shine on its face to show its expression. It came closer to me, and I pulled the light down in a failed attempt to turn it on. And it fell on me, and fell below the bed, where I couldn't reach it, and the end of the bed had shadow-like figures standing at the end. I couldn't do nothing about it because I was paralyzed. It soon faded away, and I hauled ass out of my room into my mom's room crying, and she told me to pray about it.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh at
So,
that.
no, I mean, that'll definitely work, praying about it. The punctuation was pretty rough on this, too.
Yeah, apologies for that.
No, it's all right. It's all right. But
yeah,
have you ever had sleep?
Yeah, I was going to
Whoa.
ask you the same exact
Whoa.
thing. Whoa. Oh.
Spooky Halloween shit.
I'm too spooked. I've spooked harder than I've ever spooked.
Have you ever felt the spook? Because I'm gonna ready for the spook. Here it is.
Okay.
3, 2, spook. That was an ocarina song of my people. Thank you for listening. Now, I've had sleep paralysis. Have you?
Yeah. Well, I haven't had sleep paralysis, but I have had night terrors. So maybe you could tell me your sleep paralysis story, and I'll tell you my night terror story.
Well, I want to hear your night terror story first, actually.
So, for those, just a really quick crash course for those that don't know what night terrors are. They're not exactly nightmares. You actually do wake up, but you have a total, extreme, inexplicable state of fear and panic for, like, no real reason. That lasts for maybe, like, 10 seconds at most, and then it's gone. And you kind of snap out of it, and it was like, why the fuck was I just so scared? That's essentially what a night terror is. I haven't had one in a lot of years, but like for maybe a year at most, I was extremely stressed due to various things in my life, and apparently, well, the stress combined with a really fucked up sleep schedule was causing me to have some night terrors. Like I remember, like one night there was a bad storm, the lightning woke me up or something, and I just like suddenly shot up, started kind of like panicking, going like oh my god, what's going on, and like backing away to the corner because my bed was up against the corner of the wall, and just like freaking the fuck out, thinking I saw something or that there was some other being in the room, and then I snapped out of it, and I was like, okay. The worst that I've ever experienced that, because it happened a few times, I stayed up really late, like 6, 7 a.m., and then about around 8 a.m., my sister was coming in to say goodbye because she was leaving. She was going back home. She was just visiting for the weekend. She poked her head through the door, which woke me up and triggered this night terror. And when I looked at her face, it wasn't really her face. It was kind of this strange, like, hollow-eyed, gaping mouth face just kind of looking and somewhat like maybe a really slight grin just like looking in at me. It wasn't even so much that the door opening woke me up, but it was my awareness of this thing. Suddenly, it came to me so suddenly that it felt like it had been watching me for a while. So I literally screamed louder than I ever have in my life and freaked out. And then like 5 seconds later, it was gone. I realized I was just looking at my sister, and she's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" You know, we said goodbye and everything. For the next week or so, my stepmom is urging me to get a sleep study done. I'm just like, no, it's okay. It's just, night terrors. The shit happens. And like to the point where I had to show her a video on YouTube of what a night terror looks like, so she understands that she would understand that it's a thing that happens to people sometimes. And that was the worst I've ever had it happen. I mean, it hasn't happened in years, and I hope it stays that way. But just some of the worst anxiety I've ever experienced in my life.
So, when you look back on this story, when you think about this story, does it, do you get any kind of paranormal?
No.
Anything.
Not one
so for
bit.
you, it's totally psychological, right?
100%. Like, and because you become so lucid immediately after a night terror that it's very easy to dispel. At least I do anyway. I'm sure there are other people not so much, but like immediately it's not even a thought in my mind the second I come out of it. Like I would have a night terror and think there's some kind of shadow creature next to my bed, and then I'll just realize like instantly that there was nothing there. I was just freaking out. They even say that night terrors are most prone to happen about an hour to an hour 45 into your nightly sleep cycle. And any night terror I've ever had was always within that time frame. Like, it matched up so perfectly to the scientific studies behind when these things happen and why they happen, which just corroborates, I guess, my feeling behind, like, nothing paranormal, but even though it presents itself that way. It's funny how our brains subconsciously explain these things in an irrational way sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, but that's kind of where the unknown of being human comes in. Like, there's still a lot of unknowns. I mean, about the way our brains work, about just, why do we dream? Why do we why do we need sleep? Why is it that if you don't dream for or if you don't sleep for 5 days and get REM sleep, you can go mad?
Yeah.
Okay, I might be a little off on that, but there is definitely, there are studies that are done that explain. Okay, there's a house centipede on my wall.
Okay.
In the same spot that it was like 2 weeks ago, and it scared me. That's my spoop.
Do you want to go kill it, or like get rid of it or something, or trap it?
It's on my Beatles poster. Oh, I hate it. I'll be back.
It's not a beetle.
It's not a. Get out of there. You're not a beetle. You're a centipede. I'll be right back.
Dummy.
Sorry.
Sure, no problem.
Okay. Hang on a second. Do you want an account of what's happening?
Yeah.
Do you want me to narrate?
Yeah, let's hear it. Do the best you can. I want to hear, because I assume you can't carry your mic. Just yell. Do whatever you got to do. I want to hear it.
Okay. Tell me, can you hear me right now?
Yeah.
You can hear me right now, right?
Yeah, it's a little quiet, but I can hear you fine.
All right. I am approaching centipede.
Okay. Piece of paper.
For centipede hunting. It's gross, and I hate it. And I have mail here. It's addressed to Newman Biggio. It's a long story.
Newman Biggio.
Previously owned by a man named Newman Biggio. I swear, by the way, that's true. Sorry, I'm talking so much.
It's fine.
House centipede is on my Beatles poster.
Okay. You're gonna need to yell a little louder.
Pop is now over the centipede.
Okay.
Placing the paper underneath the cup so that I can scoop the centipede. That's it. He is in the cup. This is so scary. I'm so scared right now. No. Okay, now I'm basically trapped here. I'm like stuck on the wall.
Because you cannot transfer the centipede to a flat location. You're stuck. The centipede has bound you. Newman Biggio has bound you.
force the centipede into peace treaty. Okay, I failed. And I now have the centipede. I still can't hear you. I don't have my headphones on. I have the centipede in a cup in my hand, a piece of paper, holding over it. And what happens next, you'll have to use your imagination. Let it be a spooky tale to tell your grandchildren.
The ghost of Newman, Biggio. I'm just sitting listening to the ambience.
Centipede's on my leg. I thought it was another centipede. I nearly had a heart attack.
Oh.
Jesus Christ.
Maybe these are ghosts of centipedes of past. Centipedes of Halloween past.
Oh, this is not what I think it is.
Vinny, are you okay?
That was my ghost busting machine. I don't know if you at home can hear that, but my ghost busting machine has peacefully released the centipede from my home.
Oh,
And the ectoplasm has been freed.
the white
And
ectoplasm.
all is well. Yet again, hi.
Hi. What? Are you okay?
Yeah, did you hear any of that?
Yeah. No, I heard most of it. I was talking about the ghost of Newman Biggio, haunting your house. I think it's Newman.
That's correct. You got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried.
Ready? Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm ready. I tried to be as volumatic as possible.
No, you were pretty good. At one point, I said you were going to yell a little louder, and then you did. So I don't know if you heard me or just that was total coincidence.
Coincidence.
Yeah. Whoa.
That was the scariest moment.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Let's make it better with this one looks pretty bad, this story. So
You go for it.
okay. So this one was submitted by Glenn. He writes in, "Hey guys, this happened to me last month. I don't really know if it counts as scary, but it spooked me after it happened. There was a 1-800 number that wouldn't stop calling 2 or 3 times a day, and I decided, what the hey, I'll answer it this once. Now, imagine your stereotypical Mexican voice, but really soft, gentle, and quiet, and maybe high on weed. This guy sounded like a guy who would sell perfume on the streets that smell like baby feet or stale Cool Ranch Doritos. I like to imagine him looking almost like Sponge. This was the phone call. Hello? Hello, yes, is Cristitón este? Sorry, no, you have the wrong number. No, I do not have the wrong number. When I say, is this Christy, you say, yes, this is Christy, okay? I slowly takes the phone away from my ear. Go over what just happened for a good 7 seconds, look back at my phone, hang up, and have a good long moment contemplating my life. By far the spookiest person I've ever talked to. May I never have to hear his voice again. I vowed to never answer a 1-800 number ever again on my phone. Have a great time with the rest of your stories." So, let's see what you learned. Are you ready? Hello, yes, is Christy Donester.
Am I supposed to say yes?
You're supposed to say, yes, this is Christy.
Yes, this is Christy.
That had like a Kielgista type sound to it.
Did.
Yeah. Well, good story, Glenn. Thank you.
Thank you for that. On a scale from 1 to... I'm going to do a spook rating. So I'm going to listen very intently to these stories, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to give it on a scale from 1 to 10, like a 1 to spook, I'll give it a rating. And I would give that one mild chipotle sauce.
Yeah, that was not that spoop. It was the green, the verde.
Yeah, verde. Like very verde.
Yep. Christy would not be impressed with this sauce. No, sir.
No, I mean, I don't think there was ever a point in time where I thought a 1-800 number might be haunting me. However, I do have telemarketers haunting me in the other sense of that word. So
There you go.
yeah.
And no matter how many times you tell them to put you on their do not call list, they keep calling. It's so scary.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking scary. And here's the thing. I
Explain
have
that.
people from Arizona calling me.
Huh.
A Walgreens. I found out a Walgreens in Arizona keeps trying to get me to pick up my prescription,
Yeah.
but they have the wrong number.
Yeah, as if Arizona exists. It's so
I
fucking
know.
dumb. Yeah. All right. I'm going to send you another one.
Okay, so this story is from Andrew. Hey, KY and Vinny. I have a creepy experience that happened to me a couple of years ago, and it quite literally almost scared the piss out of me. 100% true, as if that matters.
And it does.
My old man and I were camping on the mountains in Oregon, out in the national forest someplace. It was in the middle of our first night at the site, and he and I were fast asleep in our tent until I had to get up and take a leak. I opened the tent door and started to step outside, but I stopped myself. In the darkness, I could sense something out there, really close by, like maybe a fucking foot or two away. I could tell in that instinctual way, like something big was blocking the noise of the woods. I slowly put my head back into the tent and shook my dad awake. I told him that something was out there, and, both being idiots, we proceeded to open the tent door again. We could feel something big out there too, right in front of us. We could have called it quits and gone back to bed, but my bladder wouldn't have none of that wimpy shit. Out of desperation, I just blurted, "Hey!" into the void. It was met with a deep grunt, coming only a few inches away from my face. I was paralyzed. The thing kept grunting, sounding like an angry old man. Whatever it was stood up. I could hear its voice traveling upward. It started to walk away. And muttering and grumbling to itself, it sounded like speech. Every step it took made the ground vibrate. I waited for a horribly long time before I gathered the courage to step outside the tent. Long story short, there were absolutely zero tracks anywhere around us the next morning. We had come across a bear once before, and that didn't sound like that whatsoever. We have no fucking clue what this thing was, but it still creeps me out.
Yeah, these Danny DeVito stories, they're really getting to me.
It's like the grunting was just rum ham.
Rumham.
That's what it was, yeah.
I think I'm going to, and it's two now. I'm going to just start picturing whatever spoopy antagonist is in the story, or whatever malevolent force. It's almost always going to be DeVito now. I think that's the thread that each of these share. It's kind of unsettling.
Yeah, I could imagine you're camping, you and your honey, you're hanging out, and it's like you get a phone call and you pick it up. It's like, I got a Magnum condom for my master dong. I got that line wrong. I don't even care.
Yeah, I got a monster condom for my Magnum dong.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
I don't... Listen, I don't want to discount that story because there's definitely some explanations. I mean, you're camping in the pitch dark woods. Animals come to mind. I mean, there were no tracks. Maybe there could have been someone. But, I mean, there's always the potential that there was a real-life spook that was in front of you.
I mean, how do you explain the voice rising to the sky, too? Like, I don't know. That's the weird part to me. Like, if anything didn't sit right with me, that would be the part. Other than the tracks, of course. Because you could very easily explain that as a bear or a DeVito up until that point. And then the voice rising to the sky kind of discounts that. It's like, what? Wait, huh? I
don't know.
Yeah.
There's no explanation to it. On a scale from 1 to spoopy, I would give that one a habanero sauce.
Habanero? That's pretty hot.
Yeah, no, actually, never mind. How about this? Watered down habanero.
Mango
50%
habanero.
water. Yeah, something like that.
Dude, mango habanero? Good. I think that is one of the best hot sauces, that flavor.
I never had it.
You should try it. I mean, there's a couple of mango habaneros out there. Go find one, man.
I'll find one. Yeah, that's is that your spoop rating?
Mango habanero.
My spoop rating for this story is Yoshi.
Yoshi, woolly Yoshi.
Yeah, it's like the least scary thing on the planet. No, it's scarier than that, but less scary than mango habanero. How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. So this next story, get ready for super spoop. This is also from a Glenn. What does that mean? Huh. All right.
From a who?
Another Glenn. That's the second Glenn. To
We had two Glens so
This
far.
is the second Glenn. Yeah. And
Oh
they
my
both submitted
god.
it like on the same day. They
Ah.
explain that. Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen. Checkmate. You ready?
Yeah.
Glenn writes in, I was jogging around a school near my house in the summer around 1 a.m. I work nights, so I'm up around that time usually. So no one's supposed to be at the school. It's the summer and it's 1 a.m. So I'm doing laps around the school and I'm running past this door. And out of the corner of my eye, I see this old weathered woman's face glaring out of the window. I got spooked, jumped forward, and it took me around a month to want to go out running again. It also didn't help that a week prior, I swallowed a spider hanging from a tree on a run. Spooky. I love that.
Oh.
Like the swallowing spider bit, like that could somehow trigger this haunting at the school.
Oh my
The
gosh.
reincarnated ghost spirit of the spider haunting the school.
The honestly the scariest part for me was the spider swallow because I think like I got a very vivid image of a dude running. He's breathing heavy. His mouth is wide open, and it's just like the spider is just hanging down from a thread, and it's just oh god, that's gross.
That is super gross. Yeah. One thing that I do find interesting about this, though, how do you feel about the trope or the idea of ghosts being tied to a location? Like, doesn't that seem strangely arbitrary to you? I don't know. I mean, I guess people are tied to locations while they're alive, so I guess why not when they're dead? But like, if you were a ghost, would you be tied to a location?
No, because I am the type of person that wants to travel the world, but I don't think
Re- okay.
yeah, I don't think people like believe it or not. At some point when I get older, one of my goals is to actually travel various locations and cities. Like I love the idea of traveling. I'm just too lazy to do it right now.
Gotcha.
And money's always an issue too.
Yeah.
But you know, if I was in the afterlife, I don't think I would be a ghost. I don't think I would be the type of person that could be a ghost because when I think of ghosts, I think of this is going to sound silly, but again, I have spoken to ghost hunters about this very thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I worked at a public access TV station and we had some ghost hunting shows. And I was always inquisitive because, you know, part of me was interested and part of me wanted to laugh. But
Right.
I think it comes down to this. Some people believe that ghosts don't know they're ghosts sometimes. And
Mm-hmm.
their consciousness, their very essence is tied to a location because it is where they're most comfortable or they're stuck in like a loop. So it comes down to maybe if it is such a thing and the ghosts are stuck in a location, they may not have a way to escape said loop because the smart ghosts probably got the fuck off Earth long ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Or they're out in the Bahamas chilling.
I don't know. Would a ghost really appreciate the Bahamas? Because, I mean, I guess the scenery is nice, but you can find scenery like that anywhere. Like, to me, I guess the appeal of the Bahamas is the weather and, like, the nice, you know, how nice it is.
All right. Yo, so they went to Amsterdam. Yo, someplace with like gothic castles and shit.
But, dude, if I was a ghost, I don't know. I wouldn't stay on Earth either. Like, I don't know. Are
You
ghosts
could explore
limited?
the universe.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I would go. I mean, there'd be no way of knowing what direction to go in. And, like, once you're out there, do you think you'd have the mental capacity to just be like, okay, bring me back to Earth, and then you would teleport back to Earth? Or would you actually need to know which way to travel? I don't know. There's so many unknowns.
There all of it's unknown really, and you know I like to think in my in my fantasies that when you reach maximum level here on Earth of innate intelligence and willpower, then you don't have to stay here anymore, and you gradually, you know, when you die, you can go out and explore the universe and stuff, and like go to like check out a black hole, and like piss in it if you want, and watch the piss like spiral down into the black hole. I mean,
Ectopiss.
you know, we're we're talking so much like hypotheticals, but in reality, I don't think that the spirits say this is all real. I don't think that the spirits that are tied to locations know or have the ability to leave those locations. Or if they do, they're just assholes and they feel comfortable there and they decide to spook.
Yeah.
Why? That's another thing. I mean, we could go on about ghosts for a long time. We could talk about like, well, what do they get out of this? You know, what's so fun for them to like jump out and like at someone?
Yeah.
Like,
That is
you know what that
strangely
is?
arbitrary. Yeah.
That to me is like the internet trolls that post on YouTube comments with the Pepe faces and like the fedoras. Like that's just dead. Those guys.
You think ghosts are just afterlife trolls, like just looking to
Yes.
fuck with people with
Yes.
no real reason?
Uh huh.
I mean,
I
it's as
think
good
they're
of a,
like yeah.
an explanation as any. You know, it makes sense
Yeah,
to me.
that's my explanation. Like the people, you know, that go onto forums and just pretend to be one of their members and just say like really really dumb stupid shit to like infiltrate them and make people feel shitty. I think ghosts probably the ones the ones that get off on the ones that spook people, the ones that make the noises and make things move and are the malevolent spirits were just real life assholes that died. And they were like, "Yep, we're gonna just stay around here and do this for the
Yeah,
rest of
because
eternity."
I mean, let's face it, it sounds awesome being a ghost because you could travel anywhere, presumably look at anyone and do anything. But what do
Instantly.
you do, you know, as a ghost? Like, it's kind of nice being alive and eating shit and like playing video games and other physical things. Whereas a ghost,
Sure.
you can't affect anything. If you were that
We-
bored, you know,
We don't know that. We don't know the nature of fourth and fifth and higher dimensions. We don't know what kind of physicality we would experience on higher planes of dimension. I mean, eating is great. You know, fucking is great. All playing video games are great. Playing guitar is great. However, what if I told you that as a ghost, you could look into any parallel universe Indiana Jones movie you want for the rest of eternity?
Oh man, I would say, my friend, that you are full of shit.
What if I told you that you could see a good Star Wars prequel because in infinite parallel universes, there are realities where George Lucas made prequels that are better than the actual movies from the 80s. Right?
Wow. Okay. But
Wow,
yeah,
this got weird.
yeah, that is weird. Let's do another story.
Yeah.
Let me link you.
Oh, it's my turn.
Yep, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, unless you want me to do another one, I don't care.
No, this is cool. From Mike. Hey, Vinny and KY. First off, I'm happy to say I've been a fan of Vine Sauce for 1 year now, and I've enjoyed all of it. I hope you guys continue to put out more great and entertaining content that brought me here. Well, thank you. Glad
Yeah,
you're here.
thanks. Thank you.
With that said, here's my scary story. I just got Pokemon Platinum.
End of story. Yeah.
Awesome. I had just gotten Pokemon Platinum the month before, and I was staying up real late to get this secret Pokemon in the haunted house of the game. Needless to say that the house had ghosts in it, and I was a little creeped out by them at first, but I just ignored them after a minute. After I had caught the Pokemon, I set out. This is the best start to a ghost story ever.
Yeah.
I set out to get. I immediately fell asleep, and the ghosts that I saw in the game appeared in the nightmare. When I woke up the next morning, shrugged it off, and went to the middle school I was currently attending. Around the middle of the second block, the lights shut off all over the school. Turns out the power plant was doing some construction on its facilities. Some idiot in the excavator accidentally broke the power lines to the area the school was in. Regardless, I decided that this was a good time to use the restroom since I had not used it since I woke up. Now,
Okay.
I get to the bathroom, and of course it is pure black in there, so I decide to go back and ask my teacher for a flashlight. While I'm heading back to get the flashlight, I hear a loud running sound, and I turn around to see a female classmate of mine in the hallway across from me. However, she's standing still. It then occurred to me that she was not the person running because she was wearing high heels, and the running had a distinct rubber sound to it. I was about to ask her if she heard it when a dark figure ran between us and then proceeded to open the library door. When me and the girl went to see what had happened, we saw the librarian and asked if she had seen the figure that came into the library. She looked at me and my classmate in a confused manner and said that no one came in there and that she would have seen them and told us to go back to class. Later that day, me and my classmate agreed that the dark figure was some sort of freak incident created in our minds.
Mm.
Regardless, I still wonder if what I saw was real.
It was a fucking DeVito. Again, it was just too short, so they couldn't see it properly. Um,
It was another DeVito.
yeah, it was a DeVito. I think like it's not the Danny DeVito in these stories. I think DeVito is like a type of creature
Right,
that
right,
you know, so that there's a lot of them. It was a DeVito in this case.
right.
If I had to rate this on the spoopy sauce scale that we've been running, I would rate this as hot fudge.
Yeah,
It's not
hot
spicy
fudge.
at
Yeah,
all.
it's not spicy. It's a little hot, but it's not. It's delicious.
Yeah, it is very
It's
delicious. And the part that so wait, how did the Pokemon factor into this?
I
Did
was
that
just
have
about to ask
anything?
you.
Yeah, like because
No,
it's
I got nothing out of the Pokemon angle.
no. I keep trying in my head to make a connection here. So he got the ghost Pokemon in the haunted house in the game, and then the power went out, and he saw the DeVito in the school between him
Yeah.
and the lady, the chick with the high heels, and the
Mhm.
librarian. I mean,
It's a
everyone.
series of unrelated incidents tied together by a narrative.
Even stranger, everyone knows that DeVitos cannot read. Why would they? Why would it enter the library?
Oh my god.
Who knows?
I mean, there is one image, the image of the hallway. We all have that, like
Yeah.
in middle school. Like, I remember there was a blackout when I was in high school, and they made us go to class. And I remember being in the hallway, and it was, predictably it was dark. I mean, just the sunlight came through the windows, but there weren't a lot in the hallway. So I have an image, and it is a spooky image. It's a spooky kind of thought. However, um, if it's real, there's no way of telling what that is. That DeVito will never explain himself. And I think that generally it's like the Pokemon was the cool, like, well, I want to hear more about like your Pokemons, bro. Tell me.
Yeah.
Like, did you catch a Haunter or what?
Yeah. Shit. Was it Shiny Haunter? Man.
Yeah.
All right. This next story. This looks a bit more heavy. I'm not gonna judge it beforehand, so no expectations. But this one is
All right.
submitted by Jordan.
Listening intently.
This story is of the events that happened to me as a child, about 7 to 8, in an old apartment in the city of Glasgow. Sorry. It's kind of long, as there were 3 separate events that culminated in something that I'll never forget. I hope you find it interesting. I'm from the UK, Scotland in particular. If Vinny wants to do his Scottish impression, now's the time. It says that in parentheses.
You're from fucking Glasgow. That's great, lad. That's great.
And as a kid, I moved around with my mum in the city of Scotland mostly. The city of Scotland, at a rate of about one flat or apartment a year. So I spent time in a lot of different buildings all over the city of Glasgow, in short. Am I saying that right? Glasgow? Glasgow?
Glasgow.
Glasgow.
Or you could just say Glasgow.
Glasgow. Okay. One of the homes I stayed in particular always sticks out. My mother dislikes discussing it, but will reinforce my word when I describe what seemed to happen and what we found out about that place. A lot of the events I only have vague memories of, but my mother remembers hearing me and having to deal with what I thought or did see. Huh. The flat was in a tenement building, old-ass buildings and from the Industrial Revolution of Glasgow. It was a small single bedroom flat. My mother stayed in the living room on a sofa bed. The first issue I have recollection happening is having figures of light dancing upon the ceiling. I apparently wasn't afraid at the time, as my mother would have to come through and listen to me describe them. If you can imagine a child's projector, it was a similar effect to what they do. However, that isn't all that we would find to occur in the flat. Not too long after that, I remember sitting in a bath at the time, just playing around, before what I believed to be an elderly man crawling from the bathroom plug. My mother had rushed into the bathroom as I screamed and hysterically pointed at the plug, trying to jump from the bath. I don't really remember anything after that. The final and perhaps most horrifying memory I have of that place was a case of sitting in the living room by myself watching the TV. Before bed, and my attention was brought to the door. The doorknob was prone to sticking, so I just assumed it was my mother coming in to tell me to go to bed. My attention fell back to the TV. I vividly remember I was watching my old VHS of The Empire Strikes Back. It was the scene where Lando turns them into Darth Vader, and I focused on that. The next memory I have is looking toward the door to see the same man from the bath weeks before. This time his mouth was disjointed and large. In fact, all I remember him having was a mouth, and there was just bees, so many bees pouring from his mouth. Needless to say, I freaked the fuck out and started screaming, to which my mother came charging into the room. She told me she tried to calm me down for the good part of 30 minutes, but I insisted he was standing in the corner by the door. I know that my grandfather came to visit one year, and he remembers in the night having a similar issue with the doorknob moving. When he got up to check, he opened the door expecting me to come through, having had a bad dream, and found no one. He said this happened at least twice in the night. We eventually moved from that house, and years later, when I brought this up with my mother to see if my memories were just crazy made-up memories, she told me that the neighbor told her as we left the house that an elderly man had died in the house, and due to having no family, no one found him for months. And when they found him, that an allergic reaction to a wasp sting seemed to have got him. Make of that what you will, but I don't know what to make of it. I honestly believe still that these things happened, and I have no idea why.
I mean, the first thing I could say is an obvious one, is that it was a DeVito.
Yeah, I hate to say it.
Mm-hmm.
The bees, the old man standing there, disjointed mouth.
But this is one of the more plausible ones we've heard tonight in terms of storytelling. I almost believe that this guy has seen weird stuff.
Yeah.
And to me that's what makes it that's what makes that story interesting. But I don't know how to classify it. I mean, it kind of comes down to what we were talking about before, where if these things are true, maybe the old man died so suddenly he didn't know he died, and his consciousness and his spirit was trapped, I mean, in this apartment. When I actually say these words out loud, I actually feel like an idiot. Not kidding. Like when I project these words out of my mouth, it's like, oh, you're a dope. But this is, something that many, many, many people believe in. Many, many books and movies and documentaries have been made about this subject.
Uh-huh.
So who knows?
There are some threads of, like, some really subtle threads of believability here. I mean, in saying that the old man died alone, so no one would have came in to see him, and they found him months later. That tied to the fact that such an old man would probably actually live in a poor, small one-room flat or two-room flat. Like, just that kind of consistency behind it. It makes it really interesting.
Yeah, and it kind of there's a melancholy feel to it.
Yeah.
It's sad. I mean, and it makes sense because, you, like in the neighborhood that you grew up on, maybe there was that old guy that was alone. Mm-hmm. Like, you would make fun of him for being weird, but then you realize, like, well, this is just an old timer whose wife died or something.
Yeah.
His kids don't come to visit to take care of him. And it's just a tragedy. The old age thing is hard enough, but then not having your family to take care of you is even harder.
Yeah.
So there is definitely some tragedy to that story, whether or not the ghost stuff is true. It's just sad.
Yeah. I would give this one on our spoopy sauce scale a smoky barbecue.
Yeah, that's a good one. Smoky barbecue. Sure, I'd give it that too.
Okay. You want me to paste you the next one?
Yeah.
Sure. There you go. And we're actually making pretty good time. We might get through all of the ones that I didn't cut out of it tonight, if we're lucky.
So this one's from Frankie, and he starts by saying, "Yo, it's Geo." All right. So I'm assuming that's your online name, but Geo. It's hard to recognize the names of the viewers. So I'll just say, "What's up, Geo? How are you doing?" And the story starts, okay, so when I was 10 or 11, I slept over one of my friend's house, and I left all my video games in his mom's car. I think that when I got Destroy All Humans, I wanted to show him how fun the game was. So as we went outside, it was 10 p.m. We went to the car and got the games. As we were walking back, as soon as we got towards the door, some fucking guy jumped out of the bushes. I've never been so scared in my life. And just like that, just like a fucking horror movie, the door wouldn't open. We were screaming our lungs out, and the door finally opened. I didn't even look back. When we told his mom what was going on, she said it was probably just a bear. A fucking bear, Deltona? I don't know what that means. But that's the sentence is just a fucking bear, Deltona? With a question mark.
Yeah, I'm reading it.
Just kind of hiding in a bush. Either way, I was super fucking spooked, and I still don't know what fucking happened. Well,
I kind of like this story because it gets away from the paranormal and into like the slasher horror flick type vibe, and the even down to the totally inane explanation. Like whenever there's a slasher movie, and you go report to the police or a family member, and they're like, "Oh, I'm sure it was just the wind." Or something, you know, like they always come up with the stupidest explanation, and that's exactly what this guy's mom did. She was like, "It was just a bear, a fucking bear, Deltona."
Is his mom's name Deltona, or is the area he lives in Deltona?
Yeah.
Like I'm still trying to figure that one out.
No, just no punctuation. It just says a fucking bear, Deltona? Question mark.
It's amazing. I like the story because I might believe it, and also I like that towards the end there was palpable anger, like the anger of just the confusion of his situation can show through in the text.
Yeah.
So on a scale from 1 to spoop, I would give that hand sanitizer.
a mildly spiced hand sanitizer.
Yeah, like peppermint hand sanitizer.
Okay, how would you feel about a pretty long fucking one? Like maybe 5-10 minutes to read it.
I'm not with that.
Okay. I was gonna say, because here's the thing, they wrote a foreword saying this is a true story and I needed to vent it. Immediately I'm like, okay, well, that sounds interesting. They said it's certainly one of the weirdest things I've experienced. The first time they've ever shared it with anyone. At the same time, this is pretty fucking long.
So how long are we talking exactly? Like how many paragraphs?
Here, I'll show you a picture of it. I'll take a screenshot, and I'll read it too. You don't have to read it, but there.
Yeah, that'll be a long read. I would say that's up to you if you want to go for it.
Maybe we'll come back at the end of the episode if we have time. How do you feel?
The fact that he says short forward, this is a true story, and he feels like venting. That's interesting to me.
I'm very intrigued because just from the little intro sentences, it's clear that this story is a personal one, and it's kind of the exact type of thing that I had in mind when I asked the viewers to be like, okay, submit your unsettling things that happened to you in real life. You know, you think we should?
I'm wondering. Well, yeah, maybe, but I'm wondering because the way that look at the last line and tell me if that sounds like a true story to you.
No, it sounds like fiction. It sounds like it was, or at least exaggerated for the sake of drama.
Sure. Yeah, because there's a final line in there that definitely kind of it's like
how about this?
It sounds like a screenplay. Yeah.
Here's the abridged version. We will each choose one random sentence from each paragraph, and that will make the story. Are you ready?
This poor guy. If it's a real story, it's like we're pissing on it. Yeah, let's do it. Sounds great.
Yeah, and it'll be so I'll choose one from the first big paragraph. We'll just skip the single liners. We don't need that shit. Okay?
All right.
This whole thing started when I was around 11 years old.
I quickly snapped my head in the direction of the movement to see what it was. Oh wait, are we doing one from each paragraph?
Yep, you got it.
I quickly snapped my head in the direction of the movement to see what it was.
It terrified me because of how different it was to any depiction of ghosts or unnatural beings I'd seen in any kind of media. It moved in such a strange manner.
The thing that bothered me most about these dreams was that they would always happen. What would always happen next? This requires the next part. He didn't rush towards me and kill me. He didn't pull out a gun. He just stood there and caught my eyes. Then he would walk away.
After some time, I got the feeling in my stomach again. Then I heard the footsteps. I recognized them from the dreams I'd had of the man hunting me. My bedroom door swung open, and there he was. He was holding the haze I'd seen so long ago.
When I passed out, I woke up, and that was the last of it for then. I'll be waiting for the next time, and so will he, which is the last sentence. Which, again, that's the sentence that, like, it's like, hey, read my screenplay. Read my screenplay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it could be true. It could be a thing.
Yeah. But it totally, and I'm so sorry if this actually happened and it's like you really heartfelt about it. But it reads like one of those things where, like, I swear that this is a true story, and that predisposition is what makes it creepy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, just the idea that it could be real, and it insists that it's being real. Kind of like the Blair Witch effect, where it's like, this is found footage, and that's was half the horror in that movie, you know?
Yeah, I think there's a certain tone that people can employ to make something less scary by trying to make it too scary.
I give this one DeVitos jalapeno green tea sauce.
I just like it sounded like you were gonna say DeVitos jalapenos, and that's just a great. It just sounds great. Those two.
There's
words
your band
together.
name. There it is. DeVitos jalapenos.
It's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I have a band name, by the way, but I'm not revealing it yet. I'm gonna tell you privately because it's one of those things that when it's ready, I want it to be ready. I don't want to pussyfoot around it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So
totally.
Yeah, it's like. I'll ask you in a little bit. Anyway.
So,
it's
Victor?
not DeVitos jalapenos, by the way.
Damn it. Victor, I'm sorry if your story was really meant a lot to you, and I'm so sorry we butchered it, but, that's life.
It was very long, too, Vic.
It was very long.
Maybe if it was a little shorter. And just, keep in mind, too, like, I've done the around the campfire thing where I would have people tell these really, really, really long stories. And it turns out the longer ones were always the harder ones to really get into because it was just like there was so much, there were so many elements. I find
and you want to give
ones,
into it, you want to digest it, but it's just for the sake of time in an episode. It's like, fuck, I can't do it, man.
Yeah, and also on a final note, Vic, tonally, the way you wrote this and the way you used punctuation, it almost seems like a fake story in that alone. So. Apologies if we're wrong, and thank you for the submission.
I like how with all these other ones, we've just like even the ones that were absolutely blatantly terrible, we just humored them and say, suppose it was real. But with Victor's story, that's the one we were just like, nope, it seemed pretty fake to me.
Yeah.
All right. So this next one's kind of a like an abduction type story. Would you like to read it, or should I read it?
I mean. I'm all about alien abductions and stuff.
Sure. Let me link you. Oh, shit. Hang on. I fucked up. One more time. Did this not copy? Sorry, technical difficulties. Okay, here we go. I'm linking you.
Okay. From Tim. You were asking for personal spooky stories to read, so I've got something for you. I'm 22 now, and I think I was probably around 14 or 15 when this happened to me. I was in the passenger seat of the family car going to my Taekwondo class. It was early evening in the summer, so the sky was still pretty bright. A pale blue just starting to turn to yellow. That's when, from out of the windshield, I could see what I can only describe as an unidentified flying object, because to this day, I can't come up with an explanation for it. I don't want the idea of this experience to get confused. It wasn't anything like a flying saucer. It felt more like something paranormal. What I saw was a series of 5 small white orbs of light in roughly a boomerang formation. It's pretty hard to judge scale or height from something as formless as orbs of light, but from the perspective, my best guess is that they were each about the size of a small car and were hovering at the height of a very, very low flying helicopter. The fucked up thing about this sighting is that the orbs of light faded off and on in a pattern. One would fade to complete nothingness, and then the next would fade out when the next faded in. It was pretty clear. It was perfectly clear that there was nothing in the sky creating these lights, and it would be impossible for anything to project them or create them in any way that I could tell. The formation drifted silently from the right side of the car to the left until I was out of sight. So I guess it's not all that spooky of a story, but the fact that such mysteries exist and that I can't even attempt to try to explain feels a bit unnerving.
Good. That's a habanero right there. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely got some spicy. That's like spicy chili.
Yeah, totally. So one thing that I couldn't help but notice, 22 now, 14 or 15 when it happened. What year does that make it? That was about 7 years ago. What year has that been?
2007, 2008.
2008, yeah, 2007, 2008. Shit, wasn't. What else happened in 2008?
Obama was elected.
Yeah,
Thanks, Obama.
I don't think this is a coincidence here. I actually don't think this was a DeVito. I think every single other story were DeVitos, but this, something to do with the black guy in the White House.
Wait, were you really going to say Obama in 2008?
Yeah,
Did I read your mind?
a little bit, yeah. You did. I was going to go towards Obama if you didn't say it yourself.
There's so much room for activities on this podcast. Oh, man.
That's amazing. We really
that's
are
weird.
just like spiritual butt buddies here.
All right, hang on. Let me get the hand sanitizer. Whoa,
Right.
whoa. Let's not talk about that. That's I do want to discuss UFOs for a moment because I love UFO stories, and I've read many books about this stuff, and I love it. It's fascinating to me. The orbs are something that has been reported, but also if you look up the Phoenix Lights, Tim, if you're listening, look up the Phoenix Lights. That's something that had this kind of like these lights in a boomerang formation that many hundreds of thousands of people have seen. Or maybe I got that number wrong. It might be tens of thousands, but it flew over the city of Phoenix, and it was a hugely reported event. And it's basically these white lights that were in a boomerang formation that were huge.
Very interesting.
And yeah, it's similar to that in some ways.
Huh.
So
yeah,
that up, perhaps.
And the Phoenix Lights actually has a whole Wikipedia article, and it's so funny because the second sentence says lights of varying descriptions were reported by thousands of people. Citation needed, and it was just like the Wikipedia grammar of saying the same exact thing that you just said, where you were like, it was thousands of people, maybe.
Right.
So I just thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, there's a picture here from a newspaper article. Says unidentified for 106 minutes. Wow. On March 13th, people saw something like this V-shaped object flying over Arizona. UFOs? The only thing certain is that it still haunts them. And it is exactly like he described, that there's just 5 orbs in a boomerang formation. Huh.
Well, if you look on the images, and you'll see, like, you won't see the outline of a ship, but you'll see the orbs in actual pictures, like taken by people, and you can see that it's like kind of like a curved shape where there's more than 5, but yeah, it's really bizarre.
Wow.
So
that is super interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of types of UFO sightings. I mean, there's the people that claim they see a ship, but even more than that is just a small orb or a small object. There was this air show, I think, that happened in Mexico, and a lot of people were watching the skies, and then they look up and they just see the sky deep in the distance there's just tons of metallic orbs just floating around each other in the sky for no reason. So there are definitely sightings like that, and what you saw, it's impossible to say, but it is definitely, it lines up with some other UFO sightings. So
super interesting.
Yeah.
All right, you ready for the next one?
Yeah.
This one is submitted by Matthew. Hey. That's all it says. No like comma or anything. Just hey. Hey. So, this might sound fake and all, but I promise that it actually happened. I don't know how spooky it will seem. Maybe this will just sound very weird. So, about 4 to 5 years ago, I was walking my dog with my brother. It was daytime, so it was pretty light, and the area was fairly built up with several houses with a nearby park. This one time, as we were walking, I noticed something out of the corner of my eye. I looked up, and there was this jetliner, a passenger jet, I guess, about half a mile away, which was going down at a pretty steep angle with smoke pouring from its engines. This caught my brother's attention too, as we both watched this thing fall out of the sky. Whilst going down, it went behind a house that was next to us, obscuring our vision. At this point, I ran forwards to get the house out of my way. Hey, I gotta read that. I gotta read that sentence again. At this point, I ran forwards to get the house out of my way. That's actually what it says. I can't parse that.
Proofread, people.
At this point, I ran forwards to get the house out of my way. When I get past the house, the sky is empty. No smoke, no sound of an explosion, nothing at all. There was a dude nearby who definitely would have seen it. I rush up to him and ask him something along the lines of, "Did you just see that thing fall out of the sky?" He obviously looked at me like I was crazy. I asked my brother what he saw, and he described it exactly the way I saw it. I went home, asked my parents if they heard anything. They didn't. This thing just vanished in midair. I just left it at that point. I asked my brother several times over the next few days, and he was confused about the matter. This thing still bugs me now, because for a start, a plane disappeared in a matter of seconds, leaving no trail of smoke, and secondly, I can't remember if it made a sound, which being that close, I should have heard something. Anyway, that's the story. It's not great, but there it is. Matthew.
This is the beginning of Donnie Darko.
Yeah, it kind of is. A little bit.
It kind of is a little bit.
Did you ever see that shitty follow-up, Southland Tales?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't see it.
I've seen it like twice just to make fun of it both times. And there is a line in it. Southland Tales, for anyone that doesn't know, is the directed by the Donnie Darko director.
Richard Kelly.
And yes, thank you. And The Rock stars in it. And there is a moment where he says, "I'm a pimp. And pimps don't commit suicide." That's an actual line of dialogue from the film.
Oh my god. That's pretty good. But yeah, I mean, at that point, I ran forwards to get the house out of my way.
That was the scariest part because, like, in this weird abstract world that he lives in, like, I'm trying to picture this. Like, my brain was I got this. I got a visual. And then it was like, "Rap," and my brain just could not process that one part, and I had to reboot. I had to reboot my head.
No, I get it. It's funny. It just clicked for me, and I can actually explain it too. Okay, and maybe it'll click for you. I'll read it in context, just these two sentences, and maybe it will make sense because I get it now. Whilst going down, it went behind a house that was next to us, obscuring our vision. At this point, I ran forwards to get the house out of my way. Does that make sense now? To you?
Yeah, because you want to see the thing.
The house
right?
is in the way. It was obscuring their vision, so they ran forwards to get the house out of the way. It actually does make sense. Holy shit.
Yeah,
it's like...
But if you run towards the house is going to be bigger in your field of vision.
Well, it says he ran forward. It said it was a house that was next to us. Shit, man. I gotta draw some diagrams of this. Like, I feel like
if it was next to him, then maybe you could run forward and slightly to like the left or right.
But then he gets past the house. The sky is empty, no smoke. There was a dude nearby who definitely would have seen it. I guess. So I imagine he's walking. The houses are on his right because it's a neighborhood. He runs forward to see into the backyard, and that's where he runs into this other dude who probably would have seen it too. I guess that makes sense.
He ran into a house.
No.
He ran through like brick and mortar.
No, like the house is next to them, right?
Right.
I imagine
he ran into someone's random like backyard.
No, he's on the sidewalk. Let's say there's 10 houses on his right, all in a straight line. He looks to the right. He sees the thing crash behind his house. Rather than running towards the house, he keeps running down the sidewalk, running forwards down the sidewalk, so he could see behind that one house. And that would also make sense why he ran into a dude, because he was on the sidewalk.
Well, that's just poor grammatical structure.
That was
Good,
yeah,
good story. Next,
yeah. All right. What
like,
would you rate that
like
on the saucy scale?
well, we didn't even talk about the event. I really don't know what to say about the event. It would have been funny if we just like completely just left all that flat and just discussed how one could run forward into a house. But um, I get it now. It makes sense, and that's actually very good. That I mean, that's a good
Figured
mental
it out.
image
Figured it
once you
out.
get it.
Yeah.
The story itself is kind of weird. Like I said, it reminds me a little bit of the Donnie Darko thing, but I think there's definitely some aspect of the UFO kind of thing. It could have been obviously there's the meteorites come to mind, or something that's burning up in the atmosphere. You know, a piece of space debris or junk or something like that. There are some explanations, but ultimately, if you're the only one that saw it, or if it was this that didn't make a noise, it's weird, but I would definitely put that low on the paranormal scale.
Yeah.
But then again, I didn't see it. You know, a lot of skeptics are very quick to just, oh, it was a meteor next. And it's like, no, that's not exactly, you know, you got to be there. You got to see what it is. So I don't know what you've seen with your eyes, but I know that you can walk through houses, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah. You want to read the next one?
Yeah, on a scale from 1 to 10, I'd give that one a Dimetap.
Wait, a what?
A Dimetap.
The fuck's a Dimetap?
It's like a shitty cold medicine.
Huh.
You know, like that Dimetap. It's how do you spell it? Dimetapp. It's a cold cough medicine. It tastes like a clown's dick.
Dimetap and well, it looks like Dime Tap, but yeah, Dimetap.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me paste you this one. And you can decide whether or not you want to read it. It seems kind of interesting, but he flat out says that he got this from a thread somewhere and about an abandoned house. But then says, "Don't worry, it's not a conventionally scary story." So, your call.
All right. From Charlie. I remember reading in a thread someone posted in which the subject was about the abandoned house. Don't worry, this isn't going to be a conventionally scary story with ghosts or some sort of entity occupying the house that had wall-to-wall murals vividly depicting this wildlife scene. Two young possums playing near a bush, an adult porcupine in yellow boots, sleeping under a I was waiting for that to rhyme. Sleeping under the shade of a tree. And a thylacine, also known as a Tasmanian tiger, staring intently at the young possums between a couple of bushes, and a large blue and black striped butterfly separating the unnervingly menacing figure and two smaller marsupials. What? As it turns out, the house was abandoned because it was formerly owned by a convicted pedophile, and the collective mural had a deeper meaning than it would have at first glance. The sleeping porcupine represented a neglectful and unknowing parental character. The adolescent possums represent the pedophile's victims. The looming Tasmanian tiger represents the sexual predator himself, and the large butterfly represented the pedophile's freedom to do whatever he pleased. There's some silver lining to this story, although it wasn't noted in the thread. The Tasmanian tiger is a carnivorous Australian creature said to have been hunted to extinction by farmers consistently or allegedly, having their livestock eaten by the beasts in the early 20th century, which is long before the pedophile's time. Maybe the pedophile depicted himself as an extinct animal because he was aware his days were numbered. As it were, his conviction would reason for why the was reason for why the living space was deserted. This was a retelling, but I didn't strip or add any details that I have read or I haven't read. I've been unable to retrieve the original story in its entirety after about 40 minutes of Google searching. I suspect it's due to link rot. I couldn't even remember the website the thread was on. I just know I got there by looking up thylacine because I'm fascinated by prehistoric animals. In any case, it could just be a fable, but it's thought-provoking and eerie. So yeah, I was in an abandoned house, and it had murals depicting the scene. I am not sure what to even think anymore ever.
It kind of reminds me of like how a lot of serial killers and pedophile serial killers and such in jail become artists, and like I know there's some guy out there that just collects these paintings made by like John Wayne Gacy Jr. and like Ed Gein and stuff, and like analyzes these for fucked up symbolism. That's
that's that.
It's kind of what I thought of with this, or maybe the dude just liked Winnie the Pooh. Maybe.
Sure.
I mean, are people gonna look at the shit you draw after you're found having murdered several people and be like, it was obvious, all the signs were there?
Absolutely, and I'll tell you why. Because people have this weird thing. I was talking about this the other day, actually, where it's like the Kurt Cobain dying, then suddenly every one of his lyrics pointed to his death.
Of course, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, every single one pointed to him being suicidal and depressed.
Always.
And every single one. Even
if the intent was expressly stated to be different in an interview or something, or in his journals, the whole thing is that people will apply meaning to things as they see fit. And retroactively, something can mean something different than intended because of someone's actions. So yeah, I would say it's probably, in this case, I would say like, the art would definitely have some kind of meaning symbolically. I mean, the whole story confuses me. Like, why, what is this exactly?
Right.
But I get it. I understand why you're telling us, but at the same time, I don't. So I think you kind of just broke my brain a little bit with that one. But it is weird, and pedophiles suck, and their houses suck too.
Yeah.
So on a scale from 1 to spicy, what would you give this story, KY?
I would give it like maple syrup. Like to a fucked up dysfunctional tongue, it might taste spicy, but just only if you have a neurological disorder.
Right. Much like a pedophile.
Much like a pedophile. So we're 2 more and we'll be about halfway through the stories. You want to just get to the halfway point and then we'll just spend the next episode doing it too?
Maybe. Yeah, let's do these 2 and see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll do a few more, and we'll stop on what we feel is right. When the DeVitos come a knocking, you don't stop rocking.
Right.
All right. This is submitted by Overlord Catnip. Here's my spoopy story. So my mom's side of the family is from Thailand, and several years back we were visiting for the summer. It was the year that Slender came out, so we wanted to play it. We played it for about 3 hours. I don't know why we played it for so long. And then we went to bed. Before we fell asleep, he said he was going to go down and get some water. I don't know who he is. I said whatever and went to sleep. I was asleep for about 20 minutes or so, and I wake up to someone taping on my shoulder. I wake up to see my cousin with a blank piece of paper taped. Okay, this is shitty. I'm sorry. I should have called that one.
What the hell, man?
Do you want me to finish it?
Now you have to, yeah.
All right.
Because it's like, what? It's he's got a paper on. What's the paper say?
What's the paper say, man? Let me see. Okay. So, blank piece of paper taped to his face. But when he woke me up, it looked like he was actually Slender Man. It might have been a night terror, actually. So I bolt out of bed, scream, and then proceed to fucking punch him in the face as hard as could. He was on the floor. Sorry. He was on the floor crying, and the whole house woke up. When I told my uncle what happened, he couldn't stop laughing. That's the end of the story.
That's the story.
When I read the whole house woke up, I just imagine like the house itself literally waking up, and that's the paranormal part. Like the story's going in one direction, right. And then all of a sudden the fucking house just animates and wakes up.
Right. Yeah. But let's take it a step further, even more literally. The house comes alive.
Yeah.
And it starts like the furnace is like, "Hello, my children."
You woke me up.
Come to the staircase. Underneath the stairs, there's a hidden panel. Then you will find the compass of Henry Hudson. Then you will go to the chamber of the silver monkey.
Screw on the head of Newman Biggio and escape alive.
Right, the head of Newman Biggio, whose mail still gets deposited into my fucking P.O. box. Oh, Christ. Well, really, that story is just I don't really know what to say. On a scale from one to spoop, I would give that story a. But I would also say that we 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 need to discuss the Slender phenomenon real quick because I was playing a Slender knockoff game just the other day
Yeah.
as a joke, right? And it was a game where you could kill Slenderman. So it was stupid, it was pointless, and actually they would respawn infinitely. There were multiple spoops, it was shitty. But it got me thinking, like the origin story of Slenderman, was he a boy that was like really short and he got granted a wish to be tall, but he got too tall?
Like some sort of really fucked up Willy Wonka. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, like what made him slender and tall, and also why is that scary, and why did it become such a phenomenon?
well, it kind of goes to like the G-Man type mystery, like in regards to Half-Life G-Man, where it's this figure that's reoccurring with presumably its own motives, its own agendas, with some kind of supernatural power, and it continues to appear throughout different eras of time, and all matching. I don't know. I think the lack of background is what makes it scary. Like if there was some kind of fable attached to Slender, it wouldn't be as scary, or it wouldn't have been as scary. I mean, now it's just not scary, but like before the games and shit came out, I mean, it was a pretty decent creepypasta, if you ask me.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure.
some good, spicy Diablo Alfredo sauce.
It was interesting. I mean, I remember enjoying it, but then it became kind of overdone. But like the
Yeah.
whole living through various periods of history, there's someone, if anyone wants to do a little research, the Count of Saint Germain. Look it up if you have some time. This person was supposedly seen in multiple generations and has the secret of eternal life, and it's a very interesting story. So but also too, let's talk about like the G-men for a second, like
Sure.
because okay, you have the G-man thing, like the just this person watching from a distance.
Yeah.
So picture this. Picture you stumble upon, like, you and your dumb friends, right? You teens. You stumble upon some kind of like a military base, and it's like an X-Files episode. You look up in the sky and you see a UFO, and you're like, whoa, what the hell did I just see? Anyway, you go home, and then like the next night, in the distance across the street as you're walking home, it's late, it's cold, it's foggy, and you just see a dude in a suit and sunglasses and like,
Bald hair, short, a little bit tubby. Right.
Yeah, he's got in his hands what appears to be some kind of food item, maybe a ham, right?
Yeah.
And then the ham, he comes closer, but he never gets too close, and he's got a crew cut. Okay, so you put the DeVito image. I'm going to dispel that. And
Sorry, I ruined your story.
no, I don't care. But this is something that I find to be genuinely scary. Like the G-men, because there's no accounting for what their agenda is and who they are. The rumor is that these G-men are actually lackeys for the government, or they work for the government. And whenever someone gets a little close to the truth, where they see a crashed UFO, they see a UFO, they see or learn something, the G-men come knocking, and they ask questions and they threaten people. But in some cases, you hear reports of the G-men just staring at you in multiple scenarios, like from across the street, or like they're just looking in through your window, or like, you hear phone tap stuff. But even scarier than that is there's a lot of stories about the G-men potentially being half alien hybrids, and that they actually work for the aliens. So, and I'm not making this up. This isn't stuff I'm pulling out of my ass. So if you type like alien human hybrid G-men, you'll find plenty, I'm sure, on Google to let your imagination go wild. So there's that.
Yeah. What isn't there? Shit. This is, I guess, only like tangentially related, but what was that guy's name? Phil something.
Phil Lamar.
Phil Lamar. It's
Is it Phil
related to
Lamar?
this
No,
thread
that's
of
Bob
discussion.
Lazar.
Bob Lazar. Thank you.
No, Phil UFO. Hang on.
Yeah, you know who I'm talking about, though, right?
Phil Schneider.
Phil Schneider. Thank you.
Okay, so if you type Phil Schneider in Google, the dude was followed home. He was shot at. He apparently worked at Dulce, New Mexico, and he got a little too close to the secrets. He started going around and touring and talking about UFOs and what's real and aliens. And his story is interesting because he was, shot many times. He was followed. He was, but he kept going. He kept going, and then eventually he was found dead, like hanging from like a piano wire in his apartment. Very, very mysterious circumstances. Like an autopsy wasn't even allowed. So Phil Lamar's is a scary story. Definitely has a lot to do with it. And then there's Bob Lazar, who claimed he
You
worked
mean
at
Phil
Area
Schneider?
51.
Phil Schneider.
No,
You
no,
said-
Phil Schneider is the guy I'm talking about. Bob Lazar is a different guy.
No, I know, but you just said Phil Lamar.
I said that again.
Yeah. Who is Phil Lamar? I swear I've
I
heard
don't
that
know.
name, though. I gotta look that up now. But yeah, go on with Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar is, from what I understand, was not threatened. He might have been, but
Yeah.
Phil Lamar is the voice actor from Vamp
Yeah.
in Metal Gear Solid 2. What's wrong with you today?
Yeah, Phil Lamar. He was on Mad TV.
He's in Pulp Fiction as Marvin.
Huh. Yeah,
A lot of credits,
he
this
played Rick James and Ice-T and a whole bunch of other black dudes on Mad TV.
He was the judge in BoJack Horseman. He's Bail Organa in Star Wars Rebels. Napoleon Dynamite television show. He was a voice actor. Wow.
Yeah, he was Vamp in Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Jesus, he was he was Ramza in Final Fantasy Tactics: War of the Lions. He was shit. Let's see what else. God damn.
Samurai Jack.
Cassius and Tales from the Borderlands. I haven't played it yet, but I'm gonna be soon, so I'll remember.
He was Samurai Jack. Like he played. I've never watched the show, but I know it's got like critical acclaim. So
Oh, and he was Spider in Blood Dragon. Yeah.
anyway,
Wow.
just if you're interested in the spooky UFO stuff, definitely check out the Phil Schneider and Bob Lazar stories. They're very spooky. They're very weird. And if you look up the real story of like the Men in Black and the G-Men, it's pretty weird as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, I went
Absolutely.
off on a tangent there. It's just a
It's totally
fun
fine.
topic. Yeah.
You want to keep going?
No, I'm good.
No, I mean, do you want to keep going with the stories, or do you want to save the rest for part 2?
I want to go Hawaiian.
You want to go Hawaiian?
Yeah, like the originally the sequel to Beetlejuice was going to be called Beetlejuice 2. Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian.
Yeah.
And it was just going to be a big fuck you to the movie studio, but it never happened.
Oh, man, I actually like Beetlejuice a lot, or I liked it a lot growing up.
Yeah, it's still a great movie. Still
Yeah,
holds up.
Really
Good
good.
spook movie.
Yeah. And I even watched the shitty cartoon, too, a lot. Where,
Oh yeah, me too.
where he was the
Beetlejuice.
good guy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
We could do another story or two if you'd like.
sure. All right,
Yeah.
this next one is submitted. Wait, is it your turn or my turn?
I don't know.
Okay, I'll just do this next one. This was from Bluish Beetle. Bluish Beetle writes in, "Hello, I'm Bluish Beetle. I'm not sure if what happens to me makes for a good scary story or just a scary experience. That's a pretty important distinction, I think, but I figured I'd share it anyway. I'm not scared of the dark. I haven't been since I was very little. Every once in a while I wake up in the middle of the night and I just know something's standing in the darkness watching me. I can feel it staring just inches away, waiting for a sign that I'm awake. I try to stay still and breathe slow, but I'm so hot underneath my thick blankets. It must have been the heat that woke me up in the first place. I feel like I'm boiling alive. For some reason I know that if I could just turn on the lights, the thing watching me will disappear, and I can throw off the blankets and cool down. But as soon as I move, it moves. It crawls under my skin and spreads like a shiver. The body parts it touches don't feel like mine anymore. In the darkness, they seem to grow and change and move on their own. I flip the light switch and it all disappears. I'm shaking and sweaty and alone in my room, clutching my face and limbs to make sure they didn't really change, and wondering what would have happened if I hadn't found the switch in time." It's kind of what I would expect, like, a demonic possession to feel like, where you feel parts of your body becoming not yours anymore gradually. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
At first, I was going to say it sounds like a night terror, but night terrors are very like panicky and frantic, and they're done in like 5 seconds. So it was kind of interesting when you think about it, that it wasn't like that. It was more, I don't know, lucid and controlled.
Yeah, the level of detail is interesting. I mean, it almost comes across like fiction, but I'm not going to deny the veracity of this claim. I don't know why I'm suddenly talking like fucking Professor Holmes, but
Yeah.
you see, Watson, it's not even I don't know what that voice wasn't Sherlock Holmes.
Flamboyant
Christ
Holmes. Yep.
Well, you see, it's just Eddie Izzard, just him playing Sherlock Holmes.
I'd watch that. That'd be a great show.
Yeah, me too. So I would say that is a definite scary story, and the idea of kind of not having control is very scary, and being acutely aware of something else. I like that story. I would give it some habanero. Demonic possession is always pretty fucking scary to me.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not that is demonic, I don't know, but it is definitely. It's like when them aliens abduct you, and they abduct and in such a way that you can't move your body, but you are aware of what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's terrifying. That's
That is terrifying. Yeah. All right. Well, honestly, I think I'm about done for tonight. A little bit shorter than the average episode, but there's enough ahead that I don't want to jump into a whole lot more. So tell you what, we'll just do another part of this. Sorry for the lack of video games, I guess. I'm sure there's someone listening like, where the fuck are the video games, man? I wanted to hear about Undertale. But, that's how it goes.
Hey, I'd like to show you a very quick spoopy song before we go.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right, just to end the podcast. It's called Spooky Goblins, and it's not a ripoff of the Tool song H. Okay.
Okay.
Spooky goblins, those spooky goblins, spooky goblins in the middle of the night. Scary goblins, those scary goblins eating all your food in the middle of the night. Spooky goblins to give you a fright. Spooky, scary goblins. spooky goblins, making this all up off the top of my head.
Needed more
Thank you.
DeVitos, I gotta say. If you could incorporate some DeVitos, I think that would have been a little spicier for me. But as it stands, that was maybe a Taco Bell hot.
Did you? Okay. All right, that's fine. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take
and
it.
like,
Yeah.
not mild. It's still hot, but it's Taco Bell's hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'll definitely work on some DeVito for next time. Like spooky goblins. I'll work on it. I'll get it. I'll try to get it right. All right. Cool.
All right, guys. We'll catch you next time with some more spooky stories. This has been KY.
And this is Vinny.
And we'll
Thanks
see you
for
next
listening.
time. Yep. Bye.
Bye.